Hello, friends. I'm Jason White. Welcome to the Great Outdoors. I have some interesting topics and discussions today for us for the radio show and also the podcast. I want to give a special thanks to our sponsors before we get started. Uh, Thanks to the Mariana Outdoorsman Association, you can join the MOA today at marianaoutdoors.com. Again, marianaoutdoors.com. Currently, they're running their 30% off summer special, and there will be a new special going into effect starting in September. Actually, if you join after September 1st in the fall, you get the rest of 2024 for free, and then you get all of 2025 as part of your membership. So it's really a fantastic deal. MarianaOutdoors.com. Again, MarianaOutdoors.com. 10 Mile Creek Outfitters, which is the manager of Wild Acres Farm Fishery and Regulated Hunting Grounds. You can check out 10 Mile Creek Outfitters at 10mileco.org. Again, 10mileco.org. Or give them a call at 724-579-0924. Deer hunts, turkey hunts, free ranging animals, no fence, and Wild Acres Farm Fishing and Regulated Hunting Grounds. If you're looking to do any lodging or anything in that capacity, fantastic place to come visit. Nights on the farm. It's a great spot. Upland bird hunts, again, deer hunts, turkey hunts, etc. Fishing trips, trophy trout fishing trips. Check them out, 10mileco.org, 724-579-0924. Washington County Tourism Promotion Agency. Please visit Washington County, Pennsylvania. I want to also, while I'm thinking about it, I apologize. I want to thank a few of our other sponsors that I forgot to mention, and I need to pull them up because that's my fault. John Koski Contracting, Laurel Hill Trout Farm, U.S. Oil and Gas Alliance, and Octane Environmental. Special thanks to all of these folks, and also, last but not least, ZLC Services. Thank you for all your support, and certainly we're extremely appreciative. Looking ahead, Marion Outdoorsman has some upcoming events, which I'm personally really excited about. I think it's going to be a really fantastic fall. We have the annual dove hunt Saturday, September 7th. $50 for members, $100 for non-members. It's actually an all-day event. State federal laws apply. Please check that out. Information is on the Marion Outdoorsman Association's Facebook page. That same exact day, Saturday, September 7th, at 10 o'clock from 10 to 12, it is the first open house of the fall. We try to do this usually once a month, if not more. But it'll be our open house. We'll be showing off all of our amenities. 1997 Morey Road, Clarksville, Pennsylvania, 15322. Again, that is Saturday, September 7th, 10 o'clock until 12 o'clock. 1997 Morey Road, Clarksville, Pennsylvania, 15322. We'll fire up trout stockings. Oh, I skipped a little topic. We will start upland bird stockings on the 3rd of September, which is a Tuesday. We're going to be doing a quail stalking, so anybody wants to come and start hunting upland bird fields, they will be open. That's number one. Number two, that evening at 7 o'clock, the MOA Upland Bird Committee, Upland Dog Committee will be having their meeting. All members are welcome to attend. All members. So I just want to stress that all members are welcome to attend. Additionally, looking towards the fall, Saturday, October 19th, it'll be the inaugural Energy and Sportsman's Gun Bash held at 19 North event venue, which is located at 19 North Main Street, Washington, PA. Really looking forward to having this event at this location. It's a fantastic facility. Can't stress that enough. 19 North event venue in Washington. And also special thanks to the U.S. Oil and Gas Alliance, who's collaborating with the MOA on this tremendous event. Really looking forward to, having a great time, and look forward to seeing everybody there. Looking even deeper into the year, Sunday, December 15th will be the 2024 Winter Fly Fishing Trout Tournament. It's a one-day event, members only. We're also going to be firing up our tag program for members. I'll have more specifics on this before we stock, but as of right now, we're going to be doing just kind of tracking like we did last year. Anybody that wants to participate, we'll have information on this, but it's going to be biggest fish, based upon biggest fish, not only monthly, but over the duration. And then we're going to do smallest fish monthly, smallest fish at the end. And like I said, I'll have more specifics on this. We're going to get it all written down so everybody has it in writing, so that way they have a reference if you want to do that. And then next spring, we'll do our annual, it'll be the second annual PA Trout Classic, May 2nd through the 4th. It's actually going to be 2.5 day competition. Really looking forward to that. And, that's the most important things going on with the MOA. So please check us out, MarianaOutdoors.com. Again, MarianaOutdoors.com. I have a unique thing I want to talk about today, and that is electric vehicles and also solar power. And I think it's something I'm learning about personally. I've kind of taken an interest to it, maybe not in the capacity that you would think. But I was recently at a state park and I saw 2 charging stations, and they were charged up, hooked up to some vehicles. And what struck me was, as I was standing there, I'm looking and I'm like, well, where's the timer, or where's the parking meter? So this person isn't here for 7 hours in this parking spot, or charging their vehicle, or where's the intake for acceptance of money. We do live on a monetary system, and fuel for anybody with a gasoline or diesel engine, you have to pay for it at a gas pump. So I was kind of like perplexed about this particular situation. So I started like doing some research, because I was like, well, how? Wait a minute, you installed charging stations, but you're not accepting any type of money for charging up your vehicle. And I was kind of dumbfounded by it. So when I left the state park, I started just asking people about that, people that I knew, friends, family. I'm like, well, what do you think about this? Do you think that that's something that could be, or is a feasible thing, that they're literally just giving out free fuel? Sure enough, that is pretty much the essence of what is happening. So, as I'm going to read this to you, because I think it's very interesting. It says the DCNR, which is the Department of Conservation Natural Resources of Pennsylvania, has been working to install electric vehicle charging stations at more than 40 state park and forest locations to help reduce greenhouse gases, lessen smog, and improve air quality. Currently, 41 public electric vehicle charging stations are now available to use by park and forest visitors who drive plug-in hybrid or full electric power vehicles. The stations can fully charge vehicles in 2.5 to 7 hours, which I think is extremely important to my argument with this whole thing. If using the charging stations, we ask that you please move to another. If using the charging stations, we ask that you please move to another parking space once your vehicle has been charged. Yes, okay. The charging stations are paid. This is the big kicker. This is the big one. The charging stations are paid for by funding from U.S. EPA's 2016 emissions equipment settlement with Volkswagen. So let me untangle this, unravel this proposition, what's going on here. how this impacts you, and how this, in my opinion, sets a tremendously bad precedent for the future. So let's start off with the facts of the situation. This was a settlement. This money came from to build these charging stations. We're not talking about the bill to pay for them as far as the electrical output or usage, strictly from the installation proposition of these. This was paid for by a legal settlement with Volkswagen. If anybody wants any research on that, Google, Volkswagen settlement 2016, and you'll get a better understanding of what happened there. It's a long story, but the cut and dry is basically Volkswagen got pressed and charges suit by the federal government because cars were not putting out emissions to what Volkswagen was reporting, and it just caused a whole negative whirlwind legally for Volkswagen, which they ended up having a settlement. That being said, these charging stations. So, for example, Bald Eagle State Park has 4. Let's see. Colonial Denning State Park 2, Cowan's Gap 2, Delaware 2. Seems like they got 2 and 3 kind of everywhere. Ohio Powell State Park 2. Presque Isle 4. Now, why this is concerning to me, why I think everybody needs to be aware of this. Okay, so I told you that clearly this came from government money to put these in. That's number one. Number two, who's paying for the bill of when the person is actually, so like when you go to the pump and fill up your car, truck, whatever, SUV, you have to either pay with cash, credit card, debit card, etc. for that transaction. You're buying a service, you're buying something. With this, it's not happening. You, the taxpayer, basically what I've found is that these monies are free. Free to the consumer. So if you have an electric vehicle, number one, there's no allotted time on these machines that I found. So that's the first problem. It says that, for example, you can charge a vehicle in 2.5 to 7 hours. So basically, somebody could come in and let's just say they're on E, like their car barely has any juice, and it's going to take 7 hours. That means realistically, at one of these state parks where there's only 2 chargers, that basically for 7 hours, those 2 chargers could be tied up with literally just 2 vehicles. That's problem number one. Problem number two, they're not paying for it. The taxpayers of Pennsylvania are paying for it. So the concern that I have is number one, I don't understand how that's capitalism at all. I appreciate the integration of wanting to promote environmentally conscientious ideas to help, but you're taking monies from the Volkswagen settlement, putting chargers in, and then you're not charging people for what they're consuming because of the type of vehicle they have. And it's not that these vehicles do not have rubber tires or do not have parts that are made from metal or parts that are that utilize steel and utilize coal and coke. That's just not reality. They do. These aren't like, these are like cars that are made out of leaves that like just float around on fairy dust. So when they're charging these vehicles, the bill, instead of how you and I have to go to a gas station and pay for them, when these people unplug and leave, that tab gets dumped onto the DCNR. So their electric bill is then I haven't figured that piece of it out. It's either coming out of this Volkswagen settlement fund or it's coming out of just their electrical bill of their normal operation. It doesn't matter. One way or the other, it's taxpayer money. What is fascinating to me is that we think um, pushing an agenda for these vehicles. Now, I have a different idea or a different view on this when it comes to the integration of like, we'll just say environmentally conscientious ideas for improving the environment, for doing things to make things better. Um, I firmly believe that there should be potential. You have to get the private sector. I mean, capitalism all works off of the engine being able to move. It's very critical that the private sector can grow, flourish, so on and so forth. So, for example, let's say there's charging stations at a gas station. They have the total right to charge somebody a fee for the electricity that they're consuming. This is no different than if you go for the pump and you get say 10 gallons of gas. You have to pay the total amount. Same thing. This is the same proposition. So yes, do I think there needs to be ways in some capacity? I don't know the total answer because this is something that I'm learning it kind of as I go through this. Do I think there needs to be ways or mechanisms to try to incentivize the private sector to develop more charging stations, to incorporate this more into their actual infrastructure? Yes, absolutely. Do I agree with the taxpayers funding these chargers into parks and not charging people for consumption and basically allowing the general public to pay the tab? I totally disagree with that. That would literally be like them putting installing a sheets at a state park and anybody being able to go there getting free fuel. That's an insane proposition. Everybody would be like, well, who the heck's going to pay for it? Exactly. Um, there has to be a mechanism, and I think this is all going to play itself out where, we're dripping these ideas out here through the government. And look, I appreciate, I will say I appreciate at least the acknowledgement that these things are better for the environment in their own different ways. There can be an argument there too about, like I said before, the parts, a lot of petroleum parts, a lot of steel, metal, rubber, so on and so forth. You get where I'm getting at. It's not like, the only real big change is the combustion engine as opposed to, the electric engine. But structurally, the vehicles have a lot of similar components, so on and so forth. Um, Whoever thought it was a grand idea to give free electric when the taxpayers have to pay for it? I don't. I just completely don't understand. Hypothetically, like let's say you get an electric vehicle and you put a charger in at your house. That charger charges, and the electric bill from your house, you pay the electric bill. So there are. I've been researching and reading like basically just from a financial perspective, your electric bill as opposed to, let's just say, a gasoline bill for a month of the duration of driving a vehicle, if you utilize electric car, it could be a quarter to half of what a petroleum vehicle would be. That being said, if the charging station's at your own house, it's on your vehicle, it's on your bill. When you put these chargers out in public places without a way to collect monetary income or some type of an app where somebody would pay, so on and so forth, that to me, you're literally taking from people. You're taking from the taxpayers, and you're pushing an agenda, claiming it to be environmental stewardship. Um, if that's the case, that you want to have chargers in state parks, okay, then why do you not have it set up to where you have to pay so much an hour to charge? Like, okay, stick. I don't know what the monetary value is per kilowatt hour or how it works exactly. I do not know. I want to know. It's something I'm learning as I'm going. But my point is like, for example, if you're sitting there and you put the quarter in into the machine, and the car charges, let's say that gets you just like a parking meter. Like I kind of look at it as similar to a parking meter. Is like, okay, I put my money in, it will charge for so long. But you're basically buying the energy. Where we get this idea that you should be able to go to a state park basically for an like think about this. I mean, seriously, think about this. There are legitimately opportunities that somebody lives in the proximity of state park could, because they're literally, let's say you're locally, somebody lives local to a state park. I'll give this analogy. Like, let's kind of look at it from a worst case scenario. Somebody lives locally and they have a charging station at their home, and they have a charging state, and then obviously there's a charging station at the state park. What is stopping them from saying, "Oh, well, I'm not going to charge at home. I'm just going to go to state park. I'll fill up for 7 hours." I'm like, for example, Ohio Powell State Park's a great example. There's a lot of local businesses, etc. I'm not accusing anybody of doing this, but the door is wide open for it to happen. For somebody to say, "Oh, well, I'm just going to drive to work today. I'm going to park my car. I'm going to charge it all day, and then when I leave, I'll go home." And guess what? Whenever they get home, they basically have a full charge. They don't have to do it. They'll come back tomorrow. Those types of things, these types of giving out free stuff or selling it on the proposition it's free, opens up doors for mischief, opens up doors for people taking advantage. The fact that you don't have a fair system to where we're charging some type of a usage fee, to me, is freaking insane. I can't rationally grasp my head around the fact of why we would take taxpayer money, put these in, and then think that you're just going to let them all be free to use. It's not free. It's not like, okay, you put in a trail and people are going to walk on it or run on it. Yeah, there's a little bit of maintenance, but it's not like, as every person that uses it, the electric bill's going up because of their usage. That's a completely different proposition. With this discussion, that's exactly what you're talking about. Anytime somebody uses it, it's costing the taxpayers money, but yet it's basically a debt. And as time progresses, this is the other concern. Okay, we're seeing 2 to 4 charging stations at these state parks. Okay, what happens when there ends up being 8, 10, 20, 30? Then what are you going to do? What are you going to do when the demand becomes too much, and now you have all these chargers? Who's going to pay? Who's going to pay the electric bill? That to me is where this will head, and where it's going to be scary is, okay, we're going to give these chargers for now for nothing. We're not going to manage them accordingly. We're just going to let people basically use them if they want to plug their car in from a zero charge to a needing a total charge. We're not going to charge them. And I'm not saying that they don't charge at any park. I'm saying at the ones that I've seen personally in southwestern Pennsylvania, they do not charge. They are free. And to me, one would assume that if they're doing it at a few, it probably is an issue well beyond here. I don't know the end all be all solution here. What I do know is taking taxpayer money to put in chargers and then give people free fuel. I don't agree with. I can't personally agree with that. I think it's wrong. Why the general public should have to pay for somebody to fill up their vehicle with whatever fuel source. I mean, that's literally, like I said, I gave the example of putting in a gas station at a state park and allowing anybody to roll in there and get free gas. if the consumption is to that point, um, it would never be doable. So I think this is something that people should look at. People should be aware of. It needs to be discussed. To me, it's a concern. What's the ultimate solution? I do not know. What I do know is the way they have it set up and the tracks that we are on and the direction we're headed in regards to giving out free stuff off of, because at the end of the day, there's no free lunches. Nothing's free. Somebody's paying for it. That we might sell it politically, whether that's at the state or federal government, might sell this proposition that it's free, but it's not free. So yes, this is a concern. I think as these chargers expand at these locations, the debt then will increase to the parks. And then the question is okay, well, who's going to pay for it? How's it going to be handled? So on and so forth. So I think as this progresses, there's going to have to be some idea, some plan as to some monetary transaction because you can't do it. You can't do it. It doesn't work. It's a problem, and it's something that we all should be aware of. We all should be cognizant of, and I think it's for me. It's not that I enjoy going down rabbit holes, but when I see something that's blatantly wrong or mismanaged, that's something that should be brought to everybody's attention. And with this is a great example to where you're basically robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're taking advantage of people. You're dumping a debt onto the taxpayers who probably most people have no idea this is even happening. And I will say, I'm a huge conservationalist. I think that we should all be more in tune with the world around us, the natural order of things, understanding just how things operate, so on and so forth. But that being said, things like this are basically why we have so many, I would say, lack of trust with the government. Think they talk about things getting buried into budgets and things not being where they should be or people aren't connected. This is a great example of that. Just free gas. Geez, it's not free gas, free electricity, I guess you should say, but it's free gas for the people, free fuel for the people that are using those types of vehicles. But it's just something for you all to be aware of. It's a concern to me. I think it's something certainly that the state legislature should look at, figure out ways. But the state parks should not be giving out free fuel. I don't believe in that at all. I don't even think that they should be doing that at any state buildings or anything. Like you got to charge something. You have to set up a monetary value that at least you're covering the cost. Like you can't expect if you're going to choose to use those vehicles, why should the general public have to pay for them? I just can't. I can't get. I can't. I cannot see passing a debt onto people. That being said, I want to kind of transition a little bit and talk about solar panels on farms. This is a PA Farm Bureau policies, discussion points, and I think it's something that needs to be discussed and looked at. There's a policy that exists, and it highlights the fact of the soil grades of farms, uh, dives into the fact that we should be targeting buildings, properties, so on and so forth that aren't, uh, we'll just call them top grade agricultural lands. Clearly, constitutionally, and obviously based upon zoning, so on and so forth, what you do with your own private property is your choice. That being said, this discussion, this piece of the puzzle, once agricultural land is destroyed or wiped off for these solar farms, they are pretty much locked up for very, 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 depending on what kind of lease agreement or what type of contract is negotiated. This could be a very long-term proposition. Uh, that being said, that being said, one must consider what opportunities exist for us to implement solar panels that do not destroy agricultural land. And I think that's where my head goes. Is it's not about ever telling anybody, and nor should we tell somebody what to do with their property. What I think is the idea of protecting farmlands. We should be, because at the end of the day, if we destroy farmland and we then can't produce food for us to eat as humans, basically that is self-inflicted wounds. To me, I look at it from that vantage point, but also what opportunities do we have to implement solar without impacting agriculture? Um, and that to me is actually a simple proposition. It's all around us. New build structures, existing structures, what types of programs exist for new housing developments, industrial buildings, agricultural buildings. When I think about this, to me, I find it to be almost mind boggling. I mean, think about it. When have you ever seen, just think about this. When have you ever seen a brand new housing development that every house has solar panels? You don't. You don't. The technology, don't get me wrong, we are drastically expanding solar energy across the country. Everybody knows that. That's a fact. I was just actually at a brewery last weekend, and the bulk of their buildings had solar panels. I think that's fantastic. I think that is without a shadow of a doubt when you talk about wanting to improve the environment or do conservation minded techniques to make the world a better place, however you want to word that, say it, so on and so forth. Um, Radiant heat is a huge talking point that doesn't get nearly enough credit, discussion, so on and so forth, of how radiant heat impacts streams, waterways, the environment as a whole. Radiant heat is if you go up onto your shingles in the middle of the summer and let's just say it's a 90-degree day. I can assure you, if you try to touch the shingles with your bare skin, you're probably going to get burned because the shingles are probably 140 degrees or more. Same thing goes for a blacktop driveway. Same thing goes for blacktop in general. Same thing goes for metal. What it does, it heats up well beyond the temperature of the atmosphere, and basically it becomes almost like a convection oven. That convection oven then heats up the surrounding atmosphere around the house, which irregularly heats up the atmosphere. What then happens if it rains? Well, let's say naturally in the capacity of, let's just say a forested area, or let's say you live in a community with a lot of trees. Let's say it's a 90-degree day. I can assure you, you can do this. It's a great little test to prove my point. Go under some very shaded tree areas, and you will see that the temperature is at 90 degrees. You will see it's probably, I'm going to guess, 10 to 20 degrees less. Shade has tremendous value. The point I'm trying to get to here is whenever you have not only that type of heat that's heating up the atmosphere, which heats up the air, so on and so forth, that has to do with that radiant heat impacting the atmosphere. When you get then a rain, so like let's say you have a thunderstorm that rolls in, instead of the thunderstorm going through the wooded area or the shaded area and that being much cooler, 70 degree ish, for a 90-degree day. Think about when the rain hits that 140 degree asphalt, the rain hits that 140 degree metal roof, 140 degree shingled roof. It then goes out, and now that water that would have been in that 70-degree arena is now potentially much, much, much warmer. I don't want to throw out a specific number, but it could be upwards of 90 degrees. Nowhere near boiling, but you get where I'm getting at. If this water then dumps into let's just say a cold water stream. Let's say it's a trout stream. I'll use that as a great example. If you have a trout stream with a lot of development around it, in this particular example, is to take place, yes, with enough impacts of the differential of heat from the rainwater hitting, the cement, the blacktop, roof, shingles, etc., it could raise the water temperatures enough going into the stream that yes, it could impact it a couple degrees, multiple degrees. I'm not sure of it. Every example is going to be different based upon the geography of the area, the geology of the groundwater coming in, so on and so forth. But you get where I'm getting at. There's a lot of positive benefits if that does happen. Where obviously we have shingled roofs, we have metal roofs, we have places that are contributing to radiant heat. I'm a huge proponent of the fact that, well, those are great spots then to put solar. I'm not going to say in any capacity that that's going to necessarily cool the groundwater. It's not going to cool the temperatures of the streams, but you're offsetting a negative with a positive. If that could be a great analogy for you. You have these spaces that, yes, are contributing to increased temperatures of water. Collecting some of that thermal heat and having it consumed into solar panels. Again, I do not know how much it would reduce the temperature perspective, but you're wasting energy that's basically just heating up a surface, contributing to radiant heat, where that energy could then be, much of it could be consumed into the solar panels themselves and then put output of electricity. It's something to think about. Um, there's all these discussions and talks of the impacts of humans when it comes to petroleum usage. Obviously, oil-based vehicles. We don't talk enough about radiant heat. Radiant heat is a real thing. It's not make believe. It's very factual. Go out on a summer day in your bare feet and touch some blacktop, or climb up on a roof on a 90-degree day and touch the shingles. What I'm telling you is extremely real. Um, you're not going to want to touch those shingles for very long. Your bare feet are not going to want to touch that blacktop very long. Think you've seen videos, I'm sure, where somebody's like cooked an egg on blacktop or on a hood of a car. Those types of things. Um, Radiant heat's real. Radiant heat is a direct contributor to heat temperatures when it comes to water, when it comes to streams, um, and this can have a big impact, because if a stream is naturally, hypothetically, let's just use a trout stream, because it's a great example. It's a great way to kind of monitor and understand. If you're looking at a trout stream and it never peaks above 55 degrees, but now you get all this development along the trout stream and upstream, and now all these houses are going in, etc., and you don't have enough, we'll just say, things in place, whether that's adequate retention ponds, whether that's drainage. uh, See, it's also super important. This is another discussion. Getting the water out of the sun and getting it into even pipes and conduits to where it's underground, doing underground storage areas. This is also another helpful benefit when you're talking about combating the radiant heat. But the point being is, if you develop, eventually 1 degree turns into 2, 2 degrees might turn into 3, 3 degrees might turn into 4. When you're talking about a species like a trout, and I'm just giving the example of trout, that could be a huge thing. That could be literally the breaking point between life and death. Because once you start cresting to the upper 60s and cresting over even into the 70s, the hardships of trout are extreme. They become bogged down. Even if you were to go fishing and just fish and say, "Oh, I'm going to do catch and release," you might actually burn them out to the point where they'll die. which is a huge problem, huge concern. The point being, if we have opportunities, so today we've talked about opportunities, and I think that that's a big highlight here. I think electric vehicles integrated into the system are a good thing for the environment. Giving free fuel off the taxpayer backs, I think is wrong. I think it sets a terrible precedent, and I think it's only going to then grow because everybody's then going to expect it to be free. So I think we're just creating a problem which we should nip in the butt before it ever gets started, and acknowledge that you're basically getting people dependent on government handouts. Two, there's a lot of buildings, new houses going up, old buildings, barn buildings, industrial sites. Heck, I would even be supportive of brownfields, properties that do not have vegetation. Fantastic spots for solar panels. The ability to collect energy and convert it into a positive, I think is great. The ability to even help combat some radiant heat along the way of us as humans, how we've contributed to that, I think is something for us to acknowledge. Um, at the end of the day, every little bit that all of us can do is a positive thing. I'm a huge accountability person when it comes to the government, how we spend money, and the way we manage things. But also, we all must realize our impact on our community, on the planet, so on and so forth. And I give you the example of radiant heat. It's real. Like I said, go touch your roof, go touch your sidewalk, go touch your blacktop in the middle of the summer, and you'll totally understand what I mean. That's an unnatural situation, and then go and walk into a wooded area in the total shade, and your skin will immediately feel the difference, the big difference of the temperature change. So these are just little things for you to acknowledge and understand, and hopefully you'll go down some rabbit holes and look and research about some of these things. I think all of us can do our own part in our own ways, not to press or push anything one way or the other. But I think, yeah, we have a lot of opportunities to make things better, acknowledge our impacts, and if we could do little things here and there, learn, research, just like me with the state park thing. I had no idea. It's been a learning thing for me, and I'm interested to see kind of where that rabbit hole goes, because I think it could be an intriguing proposition. I want to go back to thanking our sponsors: Marion Outdoorsman Association, 10 Mile Creek Outfitters, Wild Acres Farm, Fishery and Regulated Hunting Grounds, and Washington County Tourism and Promotion Agency. Please visit Washington County, Pennsylvania. The MOA, again, will be having their annual dump hunt Saturday, September 7th at 7 a.m. They will be having a tour the same day, tour and open house, 10 a.m. until 12 p.m. Trout stockings fire up in October. Upland birds will be in September. Gun and Cash Bash, a collaborative effort with U.S. Oil and Gas Alliance and the Marion Outdoorsman Association, will be held at 19 North Event Venue in Washington, Pennsylvania, Saturday, October 19th, and that's at 4 o'clock. If anybody wants a ticket, you can always message me on social media or message our page, Marion Outdoorsman Association, on Facebook. And as always, we have all these other platforms between Spotify, Anchor Radio, WMBS Radio, YouTube, the MOA Outdoor channel. Please follow us on there. Happy to have everybody. And then we'll have numerous other events. Everything's on Facebook, social media. And I want to also mention that once you join the association, if you do, the Marion Outdoorsman Association, I try my very best to send out an email once or twice a week, kind of with updates about all these different things. And I'll end on this note. If anybody ever has any ideas, suggestions, things that we could talk about on the show, things you'd like to explore, please let me know. I'm always happy to, for everybody's input and for different ways that we can, go down different rabbit holes, explore things together, see how we can make the outdoors a better place for everybody, how we can manage the outdoors better together. But for today, I'm Jason White. This is the Great Outdoors. I look forward to seeing everybody next week. You all have a blessed week and a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.